Have you always been fascinated with cemeteries, or how did this begin?
As a genealogist, yes. And I often think about people who choose not to be buried in a cemetery, and we don't have that record to pass by. So cemeteries are a very important part of genealogical research. That said, there are some errors on stones from time to time. So you can't take anything as gospel. In fact, 2 or 3 of the stories in the tour, I found errors on the stones. They don't match the death record, etc. So, and that's just a case of a family member who isn't entirely sure what year someone was born. And sometimes people aren't entirely sure what year they were born.
What's the protocol then if you find an error? I mean,
well, I don't.
Hard to convince. You don't want to take that to a family.
No. So when I have found some errors, in one case, it was in a friend's family tree on Ancestry. Of course, I told her, and I said, and I've got the tombstones to back it up, or I've got the records to back it up. And she was grateful. But no, of course, I'm not going to write to every family. You can on Ancestry. You can contact people and say, you might want to have a look at this record because it proves something different from what you've got. A case in point, a woman on this tour that I've written, someone has her in a tree and they show her marrying in Ireland.
In a tree?
In a family tree. They show her marrying in Ireland in her late 70s when she had come in 1825 as a child. And the likelihood of her returning to Ireland at that stage to marry someone in the 1800s is entirely unlikely, not to mention which she's buried here. So that's an obvious error. And so there's a lot of common sense that's involved as well.
Okay.
In the searching.
What is the aha moment for you in the stories here? Because this is St. Peter's Cemetery. It's been here for how long?
Since 1859.
People pass by here multiple times a day, and they maybe have been doing it all their lives and have never had occasion to come inside. What is it about being in this place that draws you here?
Well, it's a genealogy game, but to be honest, it's a great place to walk my dog because I don't live too far away. But in doing that, I find myself reading tombstones or headstones. And there was one in particular that caught my attention because it mentioned 2 infants and a young man. And I saw the surname, and then some months later, I noticed a burial with the same surname. So I actually went home and looked up the obituary and discovered that the burial was of the mother of those first 3 children. And in her obituary, it was stated that she was a 6th generation Peter Robinson descendant. And that was what twigged in my mind the idea to create a tour honoring descendants of the Peter Robinson settlers.
How many Peter Robinson settlers descendants are here?
Many, many more than are on my tour, and many more than any of us would realize. And what happened was, it was shooting in the dark. So I would walk through and I would find a stone with early dates, like 1800s, and a surname that was on the ship's lists. And I would look on Find a Grave, and very often people will post a picture of a stone and a burial, but then they will post the parents of that person, or even their parents. And in some cases, the earliest settlers are not buried here. They're buried in Douro or Ennismore in older cemeteries, but their children, grandchildren, etc., on down the line are then buried here. So once I could connect a stone here to the ship's list, then I looked for a story anywhere in the line. So whether it was a story connected with the original settler or their great-grandson, for instance, a couple of the hockey players, a couple of the baseball players are grandchildren or great-grandchildren of the original settlers. There are a lot of sports heroes that came from those original settlers, runners, etc. Or there would be, if you could find an obituary, there would be a story. Or there are some local authors, Rosemary McConkey, Colum Diamond, and a woman who was named Carol Bennett. And I relied on them very heavily for information and stories about the settlers. Oh, and Ed Arnold. And I have got permission from all of those people to quote or reprise their stories in the tour as well.
It sounds like you've started this idea here in this corner of the city.
Yes.
And it has crossed paths
Yes.
all over the county.
Yes, it has. Because when I conceived of the idea of the tour of the descendants of the settlers, I didn't even know about 9 ships. I didn't even know this year was the bicentennial because I'm not connected in that way myself. I'm not even from Peterborough. But it just piqued my curiosity. And then once I pitched it to our events committee and somebody said, well, that's amazing because this year is the bicentennial year and 9 ships. And I said, what's 9 ships? Well, they're a group that's doing all these events. And then it just kind of all coalesced. And then the pressure was on to be ready for August 1st as well. Not just to write a tour, but to have a deadline.
How many stories will you be telling on the tour?
16. So some of my stories dwell on why a family had to leave Ireland. So there are 2 or 3 really tragic stories that you could see how the timing worked out and they were compelled to leave. And fortunately, they were accepted because 50,000 people applied for 2,024 spots. So that says something right there. And then some of the stories are about the descendants. For instance, Peterborough's first NHL player is buried in this cemetery. And another famous hockey player is buried in this cemetery, or he's not buried in this cemetery, but his brother is. So that's another thing. If I could find a stone connected to a settler and I could relate this story to somebody close, like a brother, a son, a sister, or something like that, I felt that was legitimate as well, because coming up with 16 stories took me months of research, months and months of research. If there's going to be a part 2, I'll happily let somebody else take that one away. Take it away and do it.